Thank you all for coming. I was kind of expecting like 5 people. And this is lovely. And a privilege for me to be with you all. And it's always a weird thing standing at the front or sitting at the front, because then you're expected to say something intelligent. And I don't really like speaking because I much rather we all share an experience. And I can blather on about stuff, but that'll touch some parts of you. But if we actually go into experiences, then that'll touch an awful lot more of you. So you'll be pleased to hear that you haven't got a clue what's going to happen tonight, and neither do I, because I never plan anything. Because to plan ahead of time means I'm not actually present to you, and I can't actually feel what's in the room and what's wanting to happen. And then one hopes that when I am here and we are together, I can feel what's wanted and we are going to do something. How many of you know about TreeSister's? Just want to raise a hand. Oh my God, it just blows me away. How many of you would like to hear a little bit more about it or want to know anything about it? Because I can talk about it or not. Oh, okay. All right. Before we do that, let's stand up. Now, I'm getting over flu, and I will cough and splutter and dribble. And as we do things through the evening, I'm not going to be able to shout to shut you all up, because you're going to be talking. So I'm going to be raising my hand, which is a way of saying, can everybody else raise their hand, and then can we fall quiet? Because otherwise, I'll have no voice, and I've got a whole day of meetings in London tomorrow, and I need to have a voice. So you need to be gentle with me tonight. So let's just start with an arse wiggle. Let's just get our buttocks slapping, and let's see if we can just shake off some of the day. And if they're not slapping, you're not trying. And let's hear the birds and hear the bees and feel the softness of these new green leaves, and just feel them as if they're part of our bodies, because they are. We're breathing with them right now. Feel nature flooding in the moment we give it more attention. And let tonight be a moment of reverence that we share together. Let it be a moment of tenderness together. Let it have us, and let us let it have us. And as you move to sit down, I'd like you to sit in a way that means you're discovering your bottom for the very first time. So you're going to go down like, oh my God, I know there's a bottom here somewhere. And it's just like, and there it is, and it's like, oh, and you have to groan. And you have to go, oh, oh. Okay, this side did really well. You were hopeless. Bottoms are pleasurable. We should enjoy them more. So thank you for being here. I know there's an Ecocide event happening tonight, so it's rather miraculous that you're all here. And God bless Gail, and God bless Polly. And, it makes me want to weep immediately. I did Polly's eulogy when we were at Findhorn. And there was a moment in the eulogy where we were taking the baton from Polly, and because I'm as guilty as many of us of thinking, Polly's doing that, it's okay, somebody's got it covered. People look at me and think the same thing. I remember talking to Starhawk and telling her about TreeSister's, and she was just like, oh, I'm so glad you're doing it because I don't have to. And I was like, that's not the point. It's not about me doing it. And I constantly say to my team, it's not about me doing this and the network. Don't look to me to be the one doing this. Like, I'm out front because I'm crazy or I've got balls or something. But everything is only going to become what it can become through all of us. And so Polly's left us, and she's left a bloody huge void. But that void is already, it's calling for us to step into it. And it's calling for us to step into it with a degree of with a degree of personal responsibility that we're not used to, because we're all having to grow up now. No matter how old we think we are, we're having to grow up now, because I think if we're alive now, then we've chosen to be incarnate now, then we've chosen to be here at the most critical point in our human evolution. And that means that there is something inside all of us that wanted to be here now and has something to give now. And if we're not paying attention, we may miss it. We may miss the gift of this particular incarnation. That makes me want to cry. I may cry tonight, and if I do, just join me. That's my special gift. I'm really good at dribbling a lot. So here we are. This miracle of this constellation has chosen to come together tonight. And that's really precious. And we're not taught in our lives or in our childhoods really much, I don't think, about the energetic currents that happen inside of relationship, and what presence really means, and what presence can achieve, and how alchemical it can be, and how it's not to do with this, and how we can't do it with this, and actually this has to almost get out of the way so that the intelligence of this, our bodies, can start to just do the thing that it's designed to do, which is to move into right relationship and to move into balance and to have its dance with the natural world. When I had the car crash in which I was given TreeSister's, so TreeSister's was not my idea. I was swerving on ice. I was trying to go and give the concept that I had to somebody else because I wasn't prepared to take responsibility for what I was carrying. And I swerved on ice and a tree stopped me from going over an edge, and that is very symbolic about reforestation, helping humanity not go over an edge. And a voice basically started talking to me, and it gave me the operating instructions of TreeSister's, and the name and what it was for and how to do it and all of that. And one of the things that it said was, you have to make it as normal to give back to nature as it currently is to take nature for granted. There were other things like, you have to reforest the tropics within 10 years, you have to mobilize the women. These were all like epic things, which if anybody actually turned around and said that to you, you would just laugh in their face and walk away, which I tried to do, but it wouldn't leave me alone. But just this one, we have to make it as normal to give back to nature as it currently is to take nature for granted. That's a 180 for humanity right now. That says, mindless, unconscious consumerism over, conscious, creative, regenerative restoration starting. That means everything that we've been indoctrinated with and that we've been taught is appropriate and culturally acceptable, that makes GDP a measure of the trashing of our world and our people, but says that we're developed, whilst trashing all those that actually know how to be custodians of our world through deep connection. That needs to become laughable, historical, rather than hysterical, or both perhaps, but a thing that we look back on and just go, wow, that was an amazing stage, like what were we on? And so part of tonight is going to be seeing how we collectively transition from this, where, you know, if we're here, then we know it's over, but we're all still hooked into it because that's been normalized, and therefore it's comfortable, even though it's a form of insanity. You know, we're living in an insane world, an insane system, but it's been normalized, so we're very uncomfortably comfortable. There's another reality that exists inside of all of us because we are nature. Therefore, it's not very low, you know, it's not far below the surface, that knows itself as indivisible and can do no harm and is in a state of reverence and connection. And when that tuning fork is hit and that starts ringing, it feels like home, and everything that's not that gets to fall away. And to me, that's the power of our togetherness, because as we come together in group and we start to do things consciously, there's the opportunity for the collective potency to ring enough of a tuning fork for something to begin to fall away. So it's not like we're not trying to figure out how to like shoehorn bits of ourselves off. If we actually just drop into what's true, the rest can just take care of itself. It's like trusting the process of life, like trusting emergence and allowing for our own deconstruction or our emergence. To me, they're like two sides of the same coin. They're one and the same thing. So relationship, if we were in relationship, true present relationship with the natural world and ourselves and each other as the natural world, our current way of being couldn't exist. And that, to me, is the feminine principle. It's the fundamentals of intimacy, deep intimacy, our willingness to fully feel how things are, to be fully present to another, and then to allow for the activation of our energies in response to each person. Each one of us is this completely unique constellation of energies, which when you park us in front of different people, different bells will start ringing. Different sensations will arise, different responses. You're familiar, you're not familiar. I instantly feel safe with you, I instantly dislike you. You know, the surface things that we become aware of are just symptoms of a much deeper set of currents that are activating in relationship to somebody, that allows something to happen that can only happen because those two people have come together. That can only happen because this particular constellation has come together. We've got gifts for each other. We have no idea what they are, and we may leave not knowing what they are, having been profoundly gifted. So TreeSister's is a huge social experiment in what it means to step back into right relationship with self, other, and nature, which is the restoration of the feminine principle. Out of which, if that is rebalanced, how we live in relationship to self, other, and nature should naturally come back online. There's no point prodding at the problem, because the problem is a symptom of a disconnect. If we can deal with the disconnect, the problem should take care of itself. Problem is the feminine principle on this planet has been flattened, tortured, burnt, abused, subjugated, owned, raped, you name it, whether it's woman or nature or the feminine principle in men as well. But in all of us, it's been hammered for whatever reason, which makes it very difficult for us to instinctively trust that part of our nature, want to embrace that part of our nature, or feel that part of our nature, because there is a colossal wound of the abused feminine, or the mother wound, whatever you want to call it, that's there waiting to be dealt with. And if you're a highly sensitive woman or a highly sensitive man, that will try to come through you because it can, because it's asking to be resolved, because it's asking to be healed. And so a lot of us are dealing with stuff that's moving through us. It's not even ours. It's like so much more than ours. And that also needs to be acknowledged. Like, it needs to be acknowledged that those of us that are prepared to wake up to climate change, those of us that are prepared to acknowledge the deeper woundings that are causing the behaviour that's driving it, and are prepared to be awake to it, are likely to be feeling a lot more of the disconnected, disassociated emotion that is stuck in the collective human psyche, that's asking to be felt, to be alchemized out of existence so that we can come back into wholeness again. So it's a big deal being awake. It's a bigger deal than just being awake. You know, we're alchemists. Those of us that are prepared to actually sit and feel it, we're alchemists. And I think it's really powerful to actually claim that. You know, I'm not just awake, I'm a part of life that is allowing this process of coming into consciousness to happen through me. And if you're here, you're one of those. And so then it's acknowledging that's not easy. It's really not easy. And right now, great, climate emergency, fabulous on one hand, but then there's total fear because nobody knows how to deal with the enormity of the denial that's been sitting in the gap. That has to be processed, which is asking to be felt. We have to deal with that as well. And then the shame that's behind that we've left it this late and nobody knows what to say to the children. And then the fact that we still are actually wanting to cling on to our old ways of being and doing because they're familiar and we don't know what's coming next. But what's interesting was the car crash happened, I think, at the end of 2009 or 2010. They said 10 years you have to reforest the tropics. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing on any level, and still largely don't. But by 4 years into that experiment, I was properly having a go, because you just got to have a go. And then at Christmas this year, I woke up after a dream, and the trees there was a stage, and the trees were like pushing their roots over the stage, and then they were coming onto the back of the stage, and then they filled the stage, and then they filled the auditorium. And it was like, okay, the trees are asking to be centre stage now. So we came up with the concept of Year of the Tree for 2020. And then I heard, and now it begins. And I walked around for 2 days going, and now it begins? Now it begins? What have I been doing for the last 7 years, you know? But I had this feeling of like I didn't fit my body anymore, like something had happened, and there was this sort of, I don't know what I've been doing, like what have I been doing? Like, and why am I not like operating at, like, why is the whole conservation movement not operating like the forest floor? Why aren't we all collaborating? Why aren't we using our shared power? I was like, part of me had transitioned somewhere else and was looking back going, this makes no sense to me whatsoever. So then it was like, well, should we try and get the conservation sector to come together? So on the 1st of May, we gathered about 11 different organizations, and I sort of said, well, we've got this idea. What if we did 2020 Year of the Tree, and we said that is the beginning of a 10-year chunk of work that we're all going to do together, and we're basically going to take that time as an NGO and grassroots-led movement, forget the governments, to figure out how we reverse the situation right now, which is we're losing between 14 and 40 million trees a day, globally. And we just decide that we're going to do it. I mean, we bring all of our networks together, and we have these shared goals, and I just sort of put it on the table, and they all said yes, and I completely didn't expect it. They didn't just say yes, the men all said only if the women lead. How about that? I still can't quite believe it. And of course, they're all looking at me. And it's like, oh. And I was saying, well, that's really good, because I haven't got a clue how to do this. But I think that is the power that we all have. Because if we're sitting in the not knowing, then we're open, and life can come through and tell us what to do. As soon as we think we know, we're closed. We're closed off to miracles. Right now, we need a miracle. We fully need a miracle. If you know the science, we are so far out of our depth, and we're so far late, and it's so disastrous that we're done. I do not believe that the feminine is going to rise in the very last minute and go, oh, sorry, and then the whole thing is going to be over. This is, our world, here, you got some. Our world is feminine. Our living planet is completely exceptional, and we're part of her. And so the power that is available to us when we become present to her, in the way that we can learn how to be present with ourselves, and we can learn how to be present with each other, if we can learn how to be present with her in the way that Indigenous people have always known how to do, and so they are inside of a belonging in which they are so held. I mean, I think it's the only reason why, I live in California. There's a Nisenan tribe who were on the land that we were on. We were in gold rush territory. I'm on the mother lode. $1.20 for a scalp. Kill them. We'll pay you to kill them. These profound people. They haven't lost it. They're desperately wounded, but they haven't lost it. How the hell have they survived? I think it's because they belong. They never lost their actual identity. We don't know who we are. And we don't know that we belong. And we've been taught that we're better than, which has made us incredibly dominant, which has had us lose ourselves in relationship to everything. And it's severed us from ourselves, and it's severed us from each other. And so there's a massive gap. And what are we filling the gap with? Consumerism. So as we shift from this unconscious consumer species to this conscious restorer species, it's like the path home to ourselves. It's like the path home to the more of ourselves there is, and the more connection there is, and the more intimacy there is, and the more togetherness there is, the less stuff we need. Because there's less void to fill. And there's more wonder, and there's more sacredness. And there's more of everything that really nourishes us, which is being profoundly received by another person and able to bring the fullness of ourselves to another person and be fully received. Like that magical intimacy that just is like, here I am completely naked, and it's just like, yeah, all of you, I accept all of you. That's what we long for. Oh, thank God I'm safe. You know, I'm safe because I'm loved, because I'm held. We get to create that world for ourselves and each other, and we get to do it by providing it for other people. Not saying, well, I'm going to show up when you show up. What do we choose? You know, if we're choosing to create a different world, then we choose how to arrange ourselves in the inside, how we present ourselves to others, and what we're looking, what we call forth in them by how we are. We get to nitpick at ourselves and others, or we get to go, oh my God, you're beautiful. You know, you're magnificent. Look at you in there. Let me see how I can arrange myself to have you feel even more received. You feel the change of energy in the room. Even talking about it is just like, oh. So, we're going to do some mingling, which is really hard with chairs, but we're going to do it really well and easily and lovelily. I'm going to hope there's an even number of people in the room. If there's not, my husband is going to step out and watch the proceedings. This is my beautiful husband. The very tall man is my very beautiful husband. And I'm going to invite us all to stand and raise one arm. Close our eyes. Have a very gentle sway of the hips, just so that you can find your feet again. Notice how you're feeling. Deep breath in. Pleasurable breath out. And then you're just going to wander off and find somebody. And as soon as you found them, and you may choose the person next to you, you may not. As soon as you found them, drop your arm so that you've been claimed. Whoever's taller, you're going to be listening. And so I invite you in this moment to gaze at your partner and to become present to the fact that you are actually the ear of the universe right now. The whole surface of your body is a receiver, and the whole of you is interested in the magnificence of this being in front of you. And you're not going to behold them just with your eyes, and nor are you going to terribly think about them. You're going to drop out of your mind into your whole body, and you're going to let your whole body receive them. And you're going to be present to the fact that you are actually the sky, and you are the trees, and you are the earth, and you are, and all of that livingness that is you is listening to this being. Now the being that is going to speak, just invite you to drop into your heart for a second. Just put a hand on your heart. There is no getting what I'm about to ask you to do right or wrong. So if you've got failure issues, you can get over that one. Or not. You can totally freak out and really have a good job of doing a number on yourself. But I would just say, when you actually get out of the way and you simply allow something to start coming out of your mouth, what you're doing is you're undamming a river and you're just allowing a flow to come. Now that flow doesn't have to make any sense to you whatsoever. And if it doesn't make sense, or if it feels shameful, or if it feels too much, just say it anyway. It doesn't matter, because the universe is here to love you. It's standing right in front of you. You're going to be completely accepted. But when you allow something to move through you, then you're setting yourself free a little. So you're simply going to say a sentence over and over and over again. You're going to say it, and then you're going to let it end. And then you're going to say it, and you're going to let it end. In whatever way it comes out of your mouth, you're simply going to say, the love that I am wants ... And then you're going to see what comes out of your mouth. And then you're going to say it again, the love that I am wants, and see what comes out of your mouth. And the whole time that you're doing this, I'm going to invite you to be moving from foot to foot very gently, so that you keep your body fluid to help the movement of flow coming out of your mouth. So, speakers, the love that I am wants. And if your partner's just deserted you, you can say it anyway to the trees. And your partner is saying nothing to you, by the way, no response. Thank your partner. You know, she's starving. She's starving for our presence and our love and our attention and our gratitude. And it's like feeding her when we do this. So now see how she's feeling about you. See if you can let your whole body receive that, whatever it feels like. It's like all these processes that we're doing are designed to try and soften our nervous systems and hydrate ourselves a bit more and become a little bit more available. You're in the experience of being part of everything. Being in a state of love, one would hope. I'm not inviting us to step into the trauma of if we stepped into a really difficult childhood. I'm not taking us there. Many of us did. I'm going to invite us to step into an age in human development. So we're stepping into, we're incarnating into what I'm calling the paradigm of dominance, or the age of dominance, this weird state that we're in now. And the reason I'm putting us through this is horrible, but you'll like me afterwards, is because it's abnormal and we've normalized it. So any way that we can find to step into it and recognize its abnormality will help us create a different reality. So this is supposed to be uncomfortable, okay? It may not be, but it's supposed to be. So just experience yourself on your chair, pre-birth, this soul that's deciding, all of us are deciding, we're going to incarnate into the age of dominance. We've decided this is a really good idea. We've got some magical gift to bring this time in human experience. We really want to be here. We wouldn't be here. So there's something in our makeup, in our longings, in our learnings that is a total match for this time in our human evolution. So when you're ready, you're just going to stand up, and you're going to stand as, just stand up and stand kind of close to the back of your chair. So you're sort of almost leaning against the back of your chair, but not quite. But just stand up and just sort of know that you've arrived. And just be aware, you might want to close your eyes if you don't fall over with your eyes closed. Just be aware of what you've arrived into. So you've arrived into a patriarchal system that has decided that men are better than women. That a particular type of intelligence is intelligent and all other types of intelligence are not. We have forgotten our deep connection to nature. We have forgotten our sacred connection, and instead of honoring and being in reverence, we've lost her face, and we only see what we can turn her into. And we're chomping through her at a rate of knots. And we have normalized chomping through her to such an extent that everything that we buy, we have no idea where it comes from. We can clothe ourselves in her, we can eat her, we can fly in her, we can house ourselves with her. We don't say thank you. We've severed ourselves, and we've been taught that this is normal. And just feel how that feels. Just be aware of it. Because that particular way of being is a death sentence. Because there's too many of us on this planet to continue to chomp through this planet and have any planet left, or any living ecosystems left, or any balance. And our world is dying a death from 1,000 cuts, 1 trillion cuts, a lifetime of cuts, and she's no longer able to stabilize herself. So just feel 75% of life on this planet has already gone. And that's because of us. See if you can let that in. Enough to feel the part of our human awareness that is waking up to what we're losing. See if you can feel the waking up to what we're losing in you, the tug in your heart, the longing for things to be sacred again, the longing for things to make sense again, and let that lean you forward. And when you're ready, take a step and step into what I'm calling the bridging paradigm, the paradigm where we're ready to wake up. So just let your heart move you forward and step into the bridging paradigm, the next phase of our evolution. A real step. Move your feet. And just feel what it's like when you feel humanity as a whole start going, we can no longer take without giving back. We've got to figure out our taking, but we know how to give back. We're going to give back through trees. We're going to give back through more soil. We're going to give back through our mindfulness. We're going to give back by taking less. We're going to give back by giving thanks. We're going to give back by seeing you, by appreciating you in every moment. We're going to feed you with our gratitude and with our gestures and with our ceremonies and our willingness. And we're going to belong to you. See how she feels about that. The bridging paradigm for me is the paradigm of embedded restoration. We embed restoration in every part of our lives. We need to embed it in business. We need to embed it in government. We can no longer take without giving back. Suddenly the living world is starting to become more alive to us. She's calling us. And there's an ecosystem that's calling you. Because within the next 5 years, we have to make this transition. Within this next 5 years, it's that fast. Our lives need to be hugely more focused on the part of this sacred tapestry of life that we are going to be restoring ourselves. And find that thing in front of you, calling you into the paradigm of restoration. Just feel something in front of you. And then, doesn't even matter if you don't know what it is yet. Let your love and your longing to serve and your longing to restore, let it call you and take another step and step into the age of restoration. Step into the paradigm of restoration. And meet this part of nature that is calling you home to yourself, and just see what it is. Just let it come to you. Is it the sea? Is it grasslands? Is it the forest? Is it giraffes? Is it polar bears? Is it ice? What is it? What's calling you? And ask that part of nature, who am I to you? And see who you are. See, what does it call you? And whatever that is, just say that to yourself. I am that thing. I am, whatever it is. In the paradigm of restoration, in the age of restoration, we're no longer mindlessly consuming anything. Whatever we consume, we consider the impact on future generations, because we have now shifted into an age of love and of reverence and of tenderness and of consciousness, of conscious care. And we belong to that paradigm, and we belong to our planet, and we belong to each other. And everybody and everything is sacred. Breathe into that reality and see if you can move it into every cell of your body, the potential of that. Let your compass swing. This is where we have to go. This is where we get to go. This is home. Now I'm going to invite you to turn around and look at the paradigm of domination. So just turn around. And however it's easiest for you, eyes open or eyes closed, probably eyes closed, look back at the dominance paradigm, the place where we are now, and look for yourself. Look for the you that is in the here and now. Notice how they seem to you from where you are in this paradigm of restoration. And then see what they need. What do they need? What does that part of you need to make the journey from where they are in that paradigm of dominance to this paradigm of restoration? What do they need to get across the bridge? And whatever that is, can you just imagine that you can completely give it to them in this moment? Like imagine that you're reaching out your hand and you're just giving it to them. And then very, very gently just put your hands on your heart, just bring yourself back round again, just turn round to face the age of restoration. And then just take your seat and let's just rest and integrate this in silence for a second. Just notice how you're feeling. And let's bring some voices into the room. And let's stay out of story and in simplicity. And let's just see how truly we can speak from that place of our feelings. I feel this. I had this thing through my life where, to me, I didn't know what I was or what I was for, but if I can be walking permission for another person, if my process, if my breaking down, if my not knowing, you know, my great gift is getting it wrong and falling down and getting up and going, oh, well, let's not do that again. And then crying a lot and then taking it terribly personally and then getting over myself and then coming out publicly and saying, look what I just did. Because I won't tolerate shame. I'm done. There's no room for shame. Shaming of ourselves, shaming of each other. It is absolutely toxic. You know, you've got shame on this side and all its revoltingness that goes with it. And then you've got love and acceptance on this side, and we get to choose.
And we can take the risk.
You can take the risk, because at the end of the day, if somebody else can't receive you, it's not about you. But, you know, as children, we didn't know that. So we've got all these stories and all these conditions that we've decided anything but feel that again. But actually, you know, I really like who I am. I'm really free, really free. It's taken a lifetime to get there, of crawling on my hands and knees through self-judgment and self-loathing and all the crap that we carry to get to the place of going, I'm damned if I'm going to limit my incarnation in case somebody thinks I'm too much. What the fuck? Why do we limit ourselves in case it makes somebody else uncomfortable? We're like, you know, you know, like it's ill-making. We should be like, oh yeah, oh, like, you know, you know, with like roaring permission for each other. That's my world.
They do, and then they go, whoa.
Well, then do it more. Because eventually they go, she's having more fun. Have a hot flush. I remember doing 5 rhythms for the very first time, and I'd forced myself to go because I couldn't dance in public. I was so terrified of dancing, terrified of singing, terrified of moving, terrified of everything. And I'm like, I am so bored with being a contorted little nothing who can't do anything. And there was this big, enormous, beautiful black woman, and she was huge. Like, she was this size, and she was like this. She was like one of those beautiful mamas that's like rolls of flesh. And she was dressed in completely skin tight, totally skin tight. Like, so she was, and I was fascinated with this woman. She had these tiny little feet, and she was like the world, you know? And they did this thing that said, everybody down to one end and you're all going to dance. I was just like, oh my God, everyone's going to see me. And this woman, this magical being, she just danced this like wild, ecstatic, every part of her was doing this, and like she was just like a rippling volcano of pure pleasure. She loved it. She got down to the other end and I was just like, oh my God, I want that. The rest of my life is going to be dedicated to that. And I remember at the time, like, I threw off my top and I just danced because she was my permission. Like, if she could live that fully, I was damned if I was going to stay another moment contorted inside my crap. And so I slipstreamed on her courage. I slipstreamed on her courage. And to me, that's what we get to be for each other. Every time we break through something on the inside, somebody else gets to slipstream through on our courage. We get to be walking permission for each other. That isn't going to do it. All that is going to do is have everybody else go, oh, we're in the okay, I know how to do but if you're going to do, you know, rah, everyone goes, oh, can we do that? Yeah, let's do that. I really like getting whole conferences roaring, like really roaring, because then the whole conference changes. Suddenly, yeah, like 1, 2, 3, and again, and do it from here, and keep your throat open. 1, 2, 3, yeah. Ooh. That's so much better. We get to define what a human being is. It's not what we've been taught. We get to define what being a woman means. It's not what we've been taught. In fact, it's almost nothing like what we've been taught. We get to redefine what a man is. We get to define the whole damn thing. And that's all here now in this paradigm, because the consciousness that has created systems that are killing our earth are held in us. And if we're going to create systems that are regenerating our world, we have to regenerate ourselves. And that means we come back to the truth of who we are, and we dump the lies. And the conditioning is lies. It's all lies. Anything that's not, we are utterly sacred and lovable, is a lie. End of story. Any of the stories that we tell ourselves are a lie. End of story. So don't pay attention to them. When they start doing this, just go, oh, done. Sorry, not playing that game anymore. Let's just say it. Done. Not playing that game anymore. 1, 2, 3. Done. Not playing that game anymore. Woo! Okay, we're going to do one more process. And let's just end by turning to the trees, looking out of the window. These majestic beings that we are losing everywhere around the world, that require us to wake up so that we can protect them and bring them back. And I'm just going to ask that we bow to them. Let's just bow and say thank you. Everything they've given us. They're with us from our crib to our coffin. Through every book, every piece of loo roll, every box, every Amazon delivery, every flipping thing. Listen, that chest of drawers is still singing my song. And what we love more than anything is when you come to the forest to sing to us. And we like lullabies at night time, and we like chanting in the mornings. He also said, if you erase every last one of us, we will continue. We will be back. Living in this world right now, and you're warming this world with your actions every day, and you're not cleaning it up by planting trees, then I am your glorious opportunity to make good to the trees and to the atmosphere, and to take an action that will help you start to address the balance of all the carbon that you have contributed to climate change, whilst we figure out how to do the next bit, bridging, and then moving into the age of restoration. Part of that shift into the bridge is the willingness to start giving back, to really consciously start giving back. And if you do that with Tree Sisters, you become part of a global network all around the world who care. Right now, 3,500 women who are planting over 2 million trees a year. I thought it'd be 1 million women by now. I thought everybody would start doing this as soon as they knew that trees were carbon made visible. But no. The momentum of consumption is way stronger than our momentum of generosity. If we can all change that, and if we can infect our friends with that, wrong word, inspire our friends with that, you know, we get to make things a new norm when enough of us do it. And when enough of us feel good about it, and then we invite other people to do something that they feel good about. So when you give to us, 95% of everything that you give goes straight into our charitable activities. 80% of everything you give goes straight into the ground in the tropics. 15% of everything that you give goes to building a global network of women who are doing that work, like moving through these layers into our leadership. And we're planting in Madagascar and Brazil and India and Nepal and Cameroon and Kenya. And I think this year we're going to move into Papua New Guinea and Mozambique and Haiti, possibly Amazonia. And our rate of growth is only held back by the amount of people that are giving. So I'm going to ask all of you, if this touched you, if you're ready to make the bridge and start giving back, if you're ready to embody the bridge and make giving back every month part of your life, to please do it. And just go to treesisters.org/donate and figure out how much you can give. And I'm going to ask you to really give, not just go, what's the least I can do? I want you to sweat. I want you to go, oh, God, that's a lot. Because I don't just want your money. I want your care and your commitment and your brilliance to come into the campaign, because Tree Sisters isn't me, it's what we all do. This room could come up with an event that just knocked Stroud flat with awe if you decided to. You just got to decide to. You know, being part of Tree Sisters is a commitment to your brilliance. And there's a lot of men inside of Tree Sisters as well. Because a lot of men who really understand that feminine leadership is needed and that it's something beautiful to get behind. So please, please, please join us and spread the word and invite your friends and feel good and proud about loving these beings who have given us everything and giving back to our mother who has given us everything, because it's time to give back. It's time for that maturation in our process to include another. We're done with the adolescent phase of take, take, take. It's now time to start living in sacred reciprocity. So my deepest, sincerest request from all of you is that you make that step. And if you've already made that step, thank you. Now what more can you do? So thank you so much for coming. I'm really hoping that you take some of this change in your bodies and your psyches now, and you ripple it out. You become that invitation that roars when it gets difficult, that pours snot in inappropriate moments, that is willing to feel it, because if you feel it, something will change. If you don't feel it, nothing will change. If you're willing to feel it, no matter how horrendous it is, you're gifting this world your courage, and something will change. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for giving yourselves to the process. I really hope you sleep well, and I hope you wake up and your life is different tomorrow. And